Good morning, Kingsley community. Pastor Colleen Wehrman coming to you with another daily devotion for March 11th, 2021. And again, finishing up here between probably after Easter. We'll go about 10 days after Easter with this devotional, The Ignatian Workout for Lent by Tim Muldoon, and then we will get a new devotional. We'll see what we have on the horizon. So feeding 5,000 is exercise 18. So get out and feed 5,000. That's funny. We'll see what Tim has to say. But let's listen to the Gospel of Luke first. Luke 9:12 through 17. The day was drawing as to a close, and the 12 came to him and said, "Send the crowd away so that they may go into the surrounding villages and countryside to lodge and get provisions, for we are here in a deserted place." But he said to them, "You give them something to eat." They said, "We have no more than 5 loaves and 2 fish, unless we are to go and buy food for all these people." For there were about 5,000 men. And he said to his disciples, "Make them sit down in groups of about 50 each." They did so and made them all sit down. And taking the 5 loaves and the 2 fish, he looked up to heaven and blessed and broke them, and gave them to the disciples to set before the crowd. And all ate and were filled. What was left over was gathered up, 12 baskets of broken pieces. Tim writes, "I have always found Jesus' words to the disciples here the most puzzling. You give them something to eat." Why does he say this, knowing they have no resources, then turn around and perform a miracle? I think the story is a clue to the way God works. He is not a passive gift giver, like a rich father spoiling his children. He wants his children to act, to be poised with desire to bring about the kingdom of God. In the introduction to this book, I suggested that there is a balance to our action and God's action. We don't earn salvation by our actions, but neither do we sit passively and allow God to do all the work. Jesus' words here are critical. He wants the disciples to do something, even if it is simply to express the desire that they hope to see fulfilled. We must do the same in prayer, bringing before the Lord what we hope to see him accomplish. And as we saw in Exercise 9. Perhaps what our action does is express it in freedom, the desire that God act, opening, as it were, the door to God's abundant love. So, feeding of the 5,000. Always up for debate. Was it a miracle? Looks like it was a miracle. Or was the miracle that people who were traveling, there were 5,000 men, so there were probably women and children as well who came. And so I don't know about you, but as a mom, if I got 5 kids, I'm not traveling without snacks. So did they all put stuff in their baskets? Extra bread, and the miracle was a giant potluck that everybody shared? Or was the miracle actually a miracle by Jesus? That's up for theological debate. I think it was a miracle by Jesus. But I could also see people sharing. Interesting. But the part that Tim focuses on when Jesus said, "You give them something to eat. I want you to participate in this miracle." And they're like, "How are we going to do that? We go out and buy the stuff for them? We don't have any money. And we're out in the middle of a desert." But the way Tim writes his devotion, it's that we are to trust that God will do something and we'll be prepared to help him. So the disciples had to set them all down, as Jesus said. They had to go around 5,000 men and probably more women and children. So they had to set them down in groups, it says. So that's going to take a little bit of time. They also had to trust that what they gave Jesus, he could do something with. So that's another thing. And they also had to be prepared to gather the stuff back up after it was done. So they had to do quite a few things before Jesus even did a miracle. So Tim writes, do we go that way into prayer? Do we, number 1, go expecting God to do something with our prayers? You know, he hears our prayers. Do we just, say our prayers and they go up to God and that's it? Or does he want us to go ahead and move forward and trusting him that when we said what we want and desire in our prayers, do we go forward acting like he's going to fulfill it? Or do we just wait around to see what he's going to do? And then are we prepared to put in the work? Because the disciples had to put in some work. So know when you go into your prayer closet, if you ask for healing, expect to God that God's going to heal you. Now, it might not be a physical healing, might be a spiritual healing, might be a healing between you and a relative. Maybe you've got, a diagnosis that's not good. And maybe he extends life for you for another 5-6 years. Maybe it is you go into prayer and you really want to reconcile with that sister of yours that you both hurt each other in an argument over something and you haven't spoken. Then go in and expect God to reconcile that relationship. Then trust God that He will do it in and through you moving forward, doing something like sending a card, trying to get a text to her, whatever, make the first move. And that trust that God will be with you in and through whatever happens. Whether the sister wants to reconcile or not, at least you've tried and you've moved forward in trust in God. So our prayers are not just these passive things that we give to God and He hears and that's the end of it. We have to be prepared to expect God to do something. So are we expectant? We have a God that expects us to trust Him and expects us to move forward in our prayers, acting as if they've already been answered in our desire, in our way. Now, the answer might come differently, but you're still moving in the direction, knowing that God's going to be with you and He's going to answer it in some way. So our prayer time should be express your desires to Jesus. Tell Him what you want to happen. As Jesus says, you do not get because you do not ask. So ask, be specific. Tell Him your deepest hurt. Tell Him your deepest desires. He already knows this. And do this every day and attend to what emerges in your consciousness over time. Are you desiring becoming more specific, less like save the world and more like help me make a difference in this child's life and show me how to do it and then move forward? And you might be moving forward blindly trying to figure out what to do, but along the way, God is going to direct your path. Does your expression of desire help you discern the way that God is leading you to participate in the building of His kingdom? Because remember, the goal for God is always to get more people to know about His Son, Christ. And so if your desire is to just have $1 million because you want money in the bank, I don't know how that's furthering the kingdom of God. So it really has to be within the will of God. So if it's reconciling a relationship, He's all about reconciliation. He's all about forgiveness. He's all about love, extending love to those you don't like. So Lord, help me to love my neighbor that keeps letting his dog poop on my lawn. And then maybe you just put the poop away and pick it up. And then you build a relationship with the neighbor. And then eventually the neighbor's like, I should probably go pick up the poop that my dog put on that nice neighbor's lawn. See how that works? Action. Take a look at your daily life and pay attention to acts of direct service to others. I just said that. What is the deep desire that animates these daily acts of service? Write in a journal about what deep desire you hope to find fruition as you cooperate with God to create yourself anew. Learn about the ministries of the church to which you might contribute by cultivating this deep desire. Go online and study what different what is he saying here? Oh, different universities, social services, nonprofits that you can participate with. And when you feel called to a specific one, pray to God to show you how to get there and start fulfilling the commission to go out and make disciples, and God will direct your path. But we have to trust Him and be expectant that He will. A lot of times we just throw our prayers out there and we don't expect anything in return. So many people think that you have to pray a certain way, or you have to say something a certain way, or you have to pray for so long, or you have to pray by yourself, or you have to pray. Just talk to God and tell Him what your deepest desires are. Then write those, and do it every day, and write that prayer out, and write those desires down, and then watch how God directs your path, either through a song or a sermon, or somehow in His Word, He's going to direct you in the right direction. So trust Him and let Him know that you have some deep desires about helping Him spread the gospel in your prayers, and whether that's because when you reconcile with someone, it shows that you love others that have hurt you, and that really spreads the gospel because Jesus is all about loving one another. So do that exercise, and I will see you next week. This Sunday, I'm going to continue How Sweet the Sound, and we're going to look at a hymn. We're looking at specific hymns and their history, and then theologically how they fit into how the Bible, where they got the songs to the lyrics, because obviously they got them from the Bible. So What a Friend We Have in Jesus is a song, the hymn we're going to speak about, who wrote it, why he wrote it, what was going on in his life, and why Jesus called his disciples friends, and what it means to be a friend of Jesus. What it means to be a friend, number one, what it means to be a friend, to have Jesus call us friends. And what does that mean for us to be friends with others? Because Jesus doesn't just want to be our friends. He wants us to be friends with others. And I'll give you a clue, it has something to do with loving others. Can't get around it. So, yeah, that's what we're going to talk about this Sunday. In person at 9 a.m. We are open, and on live stream at 9 a.m. as well. Just because I'm live streaming doesn't mean there's not people in there. And there's plenty of room. Wear your mask. Come on over, 9 a.m. Come a little bit early. You get some coffee. Hope to see you Sunday. Have a good weekend.